morning, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a massive boost for us and for the football lovers as well in the country. And we miss playing with the fans, and I think it's going to be a great game for us, even for the fans as well. So probably it's going to be some of us going to be first time we come after such a long time, and we're really happy that finally we'll get to play in front of them.
Thank you, sir. Colleagues, it is over to you for your questions. If I might kindly ask that you raise your hands, identify the media house that you represent. We'll take questions both virtually as well as on the floor. Let us start here in the room. If you have any questions, please go ahead with me, sir.
Yes, Musa, regular from the sport here. Last year, you were in a similar position. You look at this kind of a game, top sport was secured, qualification was improved. And obviously, the coaches felt that they had to give game time to other players. Unfortunately, we couldn't finish with a 100% record due to the result of CRB at the time. How do you feel tomorrow's game against America, looking at that? Almost everything is similar to this season.
I think we learned from what happened last season, and we don't want that to happen again. You know, we try our own means. We'll try our own means to get 100% record in the group stages. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. One would say just because we already qualified and we have to take our foot off the pedal, but that's not the case with us. And I think I will go give it our all and make sure that we get 100% record.
Thank you very much, Musa. There are still no hands virtually. Ramo, please go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, Musa. Hope you're good. I think this season you guys have already done well in terms of the Champions League and the league as well. Would this season be a failure if you guys do not win the Champions League? Because a lot is expected from you. And Portuguese of Suman also spoken about that, you know, Sundowns have now beaten us moving away from what you did that. Would this be a failure if you guys do not win the Champions League this season?
I don't know if that would be a failure, but you know, we just focus on our process. You know, we try to play one game at a time and try to win every game that we play. You know, yeah, some games are difficult. You know, you won't get the result that you are looking for, but we'll try to give it our all. And as the season being a failure, if not winning the Champions League, I don't think so. You know, when we step on the pitch, we give it our all. Sometimes we don't win games, but that doesn't define us. You know, we try again if it happens that we don't win. But I think this season we stand a very good chance. You know, we've been performing well. The guys they really showed up, and we really gave everything. And most of the teams they are aware of what we are capable of. I mean, we went to Cairo and came with 3 points. Not many teams have done that, but I think we still have a long way to go.
Thank you very much, Musa. I see there's a hand virtually from Zinhle Ngubane. Zinhle, please go ahead.
Good morning, guys. My name is Zinhle Ngubane from Highway Radio in Durban. I just want to ask here, since the PSL gave us a go-ahead in terms of the fans returning to the stadium is from tomorrow, how are you guys taking that as the players? Do you think it's a good idea taking that there's only a few games left on DSTV, as well as tomorrow it's your last game on the CAF, and you have the Nedbank Cup? Do you think it was a good idea for the fans to return on the remaining games, or do you think, I mean, or are you happy with that decision?
Yeah, I mean, that's we've been waiting to have our fans to play in front of our fans, and I think even though it's last few games of the season, but we're really happy that our fans they'll be there to watch us. I mean, it's been a couple of seasons playing in front of our fans. You know, we miss their singing, their support, and hopefully they'll give us a boost when we go into Champions League games.
Thank you very much, Musa. We'll take one last question for Musa. If there are any takers.
How do you look at your group, the group that you're coming from? Because sometimes you also take it from this kind of things in terms of preparing you for the knockout stages. I mean, in the other game, it's still not conclusive. If it's Al Ahly or it's Al Hilal. How do you look at the group in terms of competitiveness and how they prepare for the next stage?
Yeah, our group was very tough. We had 3 teams that really gave us run for money, and I think what happens on the other side, it really has nothing to do with us. We just focus on what we have to do. Our group was very tough. We went to Cairo, spent 2 weeks, and fortunately we came back with 4 points, and we came home and we did the job as well at home. So, like I said, we were just focusing on us. We didn't really care on which team does what, but it was mainly about us, what we need to do to get to the next stage, and that's what we did.
Thank you very much, Musa. Squeeze in one last one from Tony.
Sorry, thanks, Taba. Hi, Musa Tony from ENCA. Just quickly, how do you translate your success domestically and even other continents to the national team? We saw it happen on Tuesday, and there's always this conversation about local players and how we do against other national teams. How do you kind of translate that new team success into something bigger for the country?
Well, I think it's 2 different teams. National teams is it's made up of players from different teams, and as we spend more time together, we know each other very well. We know each other's weaknesses and strengths. And when you get to the national team, you don't have that luxury. You have to learn about the player that will be playing next to you in such a short space of time. And I think that's the unfortunate part. But I think the national team still has a little bit of long way to go. Obviously, it's a step in the right direction. The guys, they start to play more. The young ones have been given a chance, and I feel like they're doing well. But it's a little bit different, from the national team and Sundowns.
Thank you very much, colleagues. We will wrap up this part of the press conference. Thank you very much for this competition. Colleagues, we are now going to be joined by Coach Mamelodi. Just give us a moment. Coach, thank you very much for your time. You have already secured, your passage into the knockout stages. Just your preparations and how you would approach that day, bearing in mind that you have successfully secured a place in the knockouts.
Good morning to everyone. For us, it really does not mean much the fact that we have already secured a place in the quarterfinals. I think I said it before, our biggest competition is ourselves. We have a bigger responsibility to improve or to better our benchmarks. And our benchmark is the 13 points that we got last year in the group stages. And we have a responsibility to better that, because it is very important for us as a club to minimize the possibilities of seeing how stressful it is when we lose a match. So to try and make sure that we give this match the respect that it requires, and we go out there with a mentality to win, because that is very important in how we want to finish the season. As it is now, we are saying in the past 2 years, we have only lost 3 matches. And that for us is very important, to try and make sure that we minimize the possibilities of losing matches.
Thank you, Coach. We'll start with our colleagues joining us virtually. Let's start with yourself, Mr. Musia, who I have noted you as well as Mr. Musia.
Okay, thank you, Tabang, and good morning to the coach and everyone. Coach, I just wanted.
Taviso, can you hear us?
Oh, sorry, did I unmute myself?
Yeah.
We did not hear the question.
Taviso, can you go ahead again? Sorry about that. Taviso, are you there?
Yeah, sorry about that, Tabang. I think there was a call coming through. Apologies. I just wanted to find out from the coach if the players that were with Bafana will be considered for this game. And if you can also give us an injury update on Rivaldo, because the Bafana coach had mentioned that he was injured and that's why he left him out.
Maybe if I can start with Rivaldo. He's still injured. He's out with a hernia. He was supposed to go for an operation somewhere this week, I think today or tomorrow. But he's probably out for the next 4 to 6 weeks, I think. And as for the players that went for the national team, there is a possibility that we might consider some of them because of our injury status as well. Because you would remember Tapelo got injured in Sudan, and he's still not yet back. Fortunately, Mudau did not play the full match on Tuesday, so we are hoping that that might also help us to a certain extent to be able to help us in the right back position. But in terms of the other injuries, we still have Sapeda out. We still have Gift Motupa out. Musa is still 50-50 with him, but we are optimistic that we have a good team to compete.
Thank you, Coach. Vuyo, please go ahead.
Thanks, Tabang. Good morning, Coach, and good morning to the colleagues. Coach, I've noted, of course, that the issue of fans coming back to stadium has been received positively. But I think over the duration, one thing that has been noted out was just the pace at which the decision had come to be made. It was sort of taking long. And I do understand that at some periods, justifiably, we could have, reasoned with the European countries being first world countries, and they could have easily made this decision easier. But after numerous testing, even in South Africa, not just in football, but in other sporting codes, it seemed like in football, it was taking longer. I just wanted to get how high did your frustration levels really go at the pace at which we then came to make such a decision? And secondly, adding to that, did it ever cross your mind?
To one question, please. Sorry, we are.
Okay, it's linked to this, Tabang. Can I just quickly add it? I'm sorry.
And then allow you to, I'm sorry, we have to let the coach go. So we'll just take that one question. Sorry.
To be honest, at this stage, I think it will be unfair of me or anyone to complain about what has happened in the past, instead of appreciating the fact that now we've got our supporters back into our matches. And the only thing that one would want to see is to urge our supporters to come in numbers to support us and not treat this game as a dead rubber. We don't treat it as a dead rubber. Al-Merrikh is one of the biggest teams in Sudan, and it's a team that has won 3 championships in a row, taking over from Hilal, which made them to be one of the biggest teams in the continent. And we would love to play this match with our supporters and enjoy that Trambita game, enjoy that singing, and see how the team responds, because the fact that we did not have supporters, that has been a big equalizer in terms of how matches were approached. So we would really love to see our people coming, and I plead with the Yellow Nation to support us here, because this is a dress rehearsal of what we might be expecting to see either in the Nedbank Cup or in the quarterfinals of the Champions League and the league, because the supporters are the most or the integral part of football. Without supporters, football is not the same. So one really, really appreciates the fact that now we are at a stage where we can have our supporters in our matches.
Thank you, Coach. Karamo, please go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning to all my colleagues as well. Coach, how difficult has it been to play for this match, considering that you guys are coming from international break? You've got 5 players who went with other internationals as well. So how difficult has it been to prepare for this, last game of the CAF Champions League group stage, Coach?
Yeah, it's always tough, man, to have this first match after the FIFA break. It's never easy, more especially for a team like ours, because we normally lose a lot of players in the process. But this time around, it was a little bit better, considering that now Dennis is no longer traveling to the national team. We have Kennedy around. And fortunately, this time around, we also had Peter not traveling. Brian Onyango has not been traveling as well. So at least we are safer in that space. It's just that we had quite a number of players in the Bafana squad. But be that as it may, the players that really played maybe more minutes would be a Motori Mbala, would be a Tebo Khomugwena, Laila K to a certain extent. But it's also very good for our players to compete in that space and see how far they are in terms of their ability and in terms of how much growth they've had over the years. But I must say it's never easy to prepare during the FIFA break for the first match after the FIFA break. Unfortunately, we are not traveling. You can imagine how it was going to be like if immediately after the FIFA break we were traveling either to Sudan or Algeria or wherever, where it's not even a direct flight, it's a flight that has got a transit somewhere. So fortunately we're at home, it's a little bit better, but still we have not seen the players that were at Bafana. So that's the summary of the story.
Daniel, we have noted you. Let's just give Mr. Mnyandu a chance and then we'll be followed by yourself. Daniel, what's your point?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Coach, good morning. Looking at the field, I think your group is the only one that is maybe just yet to confirm the second qualifier to the next stage. The other groups are decided, and it also, as it always in the last 8, it points to more North African trips, not getting ahead of taking nothing away from tomorrow's game. I'm sure in terms of the projections and studying the opponents, already you are looking forward to what the draw could present for you, especially looking at the teams that could be finishing second in the other 2 groups.
Yeah, no, it's already posing a lot of serious question marks, because when we look at our analysis is telling us that we are probably going to Morocco. If not Morocco, chances are that you are going to Algeria. If not Algeria, chances are that you might also be going to Angola. And that already says this travel is not going to be one of the best, because if you look at all those trips, not even one of them, probably the Angolan one is a direct flight, but it's also not easy. The conditions in Angola are not always easy for anyone. So we are looking at this very closely, but like you are saying, chances are that they are pointing us towards North Africa.
Thank you, Coach. Pratom, please.
So good morning, Coach and colleagues. Coach, seeing that you are technically still playing away from home, that is like you are playing outside Pretoria, your CAF Champions League home matches, how close are you to returning home? And I mean, what has the feel been like with those supporters, traveling with you to FNB Stadium as compared to the atmosphere that you would have playing in Pretoria? So how close are you to playing your home matches in Pretoria? And then, well, it will depend if you also progress in the tournament. Thank you.
I would prefer not to really go deep into us playing in Pretoria, because that is out of our hands. I think other people will have better answers in that space. Ours is to focus on what we have now, which is FNB Stadium. And the previous match we played there, the surface was very good. We enjoyed ourselves. The pitch was good for us to play the type of football we want. And the size of the pitch is also very suitable to us for the type of a game that we always want to see. Yes, of course, you do feel for the supporters to a certain extent, because for them now to travel all the way from Mamelodi to FNB or from Atchison to FNB, it's not that easy, but they also understand that it's not in our hands. CAF made a decision in their evaluations, and they felt that our stadiums are not yet at the level that they want. So it's up to those powers that be to be able to look at this thing and see how quickly we can make sure that we are able to go back to one of our stadiums. But at this stage, we are focusing on playing our matches at FNB, because at least we got the 3 points that we wanted in the previous match.
That's good. We'll take the last 2 questions and then we'll wrap it up. Tony, please go ahead, and then Karamo will wrap it up.
Thanks, Good morning, Coach. A few weeks ago, something you've spoken about before, just about like the small margin of error from between the Champions League and domestic football, and just related to the question I asked Musa earlier. Just what is the difference between, say, players here versus players in Africa and even players in Europe? When you look back at, for example, the match on Tuesday.
I would really not want to put a lot of reference to the match on Tuesday, because I also don't think that is a true reflection of what South Africa is capable of. I think we are better than what we did in France. The difference in the PSL and the Champions League, surprisingly, maybe I'd give you a few case studies. We played against Maniema in the preliminary stages of the competition. I had not heard of that name before. It was a team from DRC. That team managed to score 2 goals against us. And we dominated the match. We should have sealed the match without conceding a goal. But in the Champions League, one thing that I've learned, I don't know whether it's the level of competition or the focus that players and these nations have towards the Champions League, but there is no room for error. Last year in Egypt, we played against Al Ahly. We dominated the match and played very well, but made 2 mistakes which could have been half chances in South Africa. But those 2 half chances were punished immediately, and we came back with 2-0. In South Africa, you make as many mistakes sometimes. You can give an opposition maybe 3 big chances, and they still don't score. Maniema got smaller chances. One was a mistake from Musa, and the other one was a skanker from outside the box, which we never expected. And they only had those 2 chances, and they punished us. So if you look at the game that we played against Hilal, we made 2 errors first half in that match, and out of those 2 errors, they got 2 shots at goals. One of the errors was even in their half. It was a free kick we passed to their player, and it was a counter attack. From there, it went to our right channel. Immediately, it comes back to the box, and Brian Onyang saved it on the line. Just a small mistake. In South Africa, maybe with that mistake, you would not have seen that ball coming into your 18 area. So those are the smaller margins that you can always find in the Champions League, but there is just no room for error. We make one silly mistake, you are punished, and at times that puts a lot of stress and frustration on the players, because they know they must be very focused throughout the 90 minutes, because one mistake can cost you the game. And when you're playing with that kind of pressure, at times you are bound to make even more mistakes. But I think our boys are growing in that space, and they're improving, and we are happy in that space.
Thank you very much. So next,
Coach, I listened attentively to the interview with Morale a couple of days ago, and the the confidence and the arrogance that he has that, for him, the league is done. It's now the Champions League as well as the Nedbank Cup. What is the general feeling within the football club in regards to the Champions League, and how important is it for you to have a player such as Andile within the camp, the way that he carries himself off the pitch, on the pitch as well? How important a character is he within the camp of Sundowns?
Football is a very strange game. There are so many talented players out there. At times, you have very good training players who will be exceptionally good in training and give you goosebumps in training, but you bring them to the match, they are not performing at the level that you expect. That's why other coaches would say you've got lions in training, but you've got cats in the match. And a player like Andile Jali is that specimen that is important for the game, but it must always be in moderation. You want players that have got a very high self-esteem, but you don't want them to be arrogant. You want them to have a very good level of humility, but still very assertive in believing who they are, because that is a very, very powerful trait in football. Most of the mistakes we make in football are the mistakes that we make as a result of being scared sometimes. But when you don't have that element of fear, you will check all the most successful players are the players that take more risks in the opposition half, because that fear factor is not as hyped up as with other players. And there are other players that are extremely talented, but with all the talent that they have, they don't want to make mistakes. And when you don't want to make mistakes, then you never play to your full potential. Because sometimes in football, more risks mean maybe better pay package sometimes. Because other players that risk more but make a success of those risks, they are regarded as legends and top footballers. So Andile Jali is that specimen that you would want to have, a player that believes in himself to a point of saying, whenever he comes into a match, it's like a contest in a fight. No, I'm going to dominate the space. I will win here. I will be a better player than the opponent. That puts a lot of pressure on you because you cannot drop the ball. When you are a little bit more confident, you must make sure that you live up to the expectations. But to sum it up, I think he's a very important component of the team. And you would want to have more of such players. We do have a few who have so much confidence in their capacity, and that makes us to be a team that goes away from home with a mentality to win. Because when you are going away from home and you are going with players that are not too confident of their capacity, then you say, hey, maybe a draw will be a good result. But with players that we have, they give us that confidence to say, no, man, we can go out there, it's 11 versus 11. We've got the capacity to also win this match. And in many instances, that has happened.
Coach, thank you very much for your time. Colleagues, we are out of time. I do have to, unfortunately, let the coach go. Coach, all the best for this season. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is the Sobri Boys Walifatsi from the Big R or TBR Solution. One of the companies owned by TBR Solution is the Big R Financial Services, an authorized financial service provider. I'm sure you have noticed that the past few months or so, we've seen a lot of deaths, and those deaths are attributed to mental illness. Mental illness can be caused by anything, can be caused by stress, depression, and stress and depression can be caused by a number of things, lack of finances, or financial problem, or social problem, or marital problem. So they cause all those problems. We in the financial sector, we see it almost now and again because we work with various organizations like GPF, Independent Fund Organization, But while I'm still there, let me stress, we don't have a formal relationship with GPF, but we work with them because most of our people are from there. Now, working with those people, you know very well that people who are working for the government, they're expected to retire at the age of 60 and above, right? If you retire earlier than that, then you are being penalized by GPF. And sometimes people say, no, I need money. So what do? They resign. They say, no, let the money go to my bank account. Once you do that, you are tax heavy. So you need to bear that in mind, okay? But now, let's say for argument's sake, you are 55 as we speak and above, and you are contemplating of either resigning or going on pension in the next 3 months or so, just drop us a WhatsApp so that we help you to expedite for your payment. Because according to the GPF rules and pension fund law, once a client or a member receive an SMS that they've received your forms, that means they have 60 days to complete the process. And mind you, the 60 days is a maximum. It doesn't mean it has to take 60 days. It's a maximum. Now, sometimes we see people that don't get their money for 2 to 3, 4, 5 months, 6 months, even more, or a year or so. And then there, the problem could emanate either from the GPF side, employer side, a member himself. So what we do, we try to expedite that process by making sure that we understand the workings of GPF. If it's a member, we help him to do the right thing. The same with GPF, the same with employer organization. Now, remember, as I have already said, that with GPF, it's 60 and above. Now, and then we say if you're 55 or more, you can contact us. And another good element is this, with the fund that we are working with, there is a whole lot of flexibility. You can decide how much you earn. That's how flexible it is. And if, let's say, you pass on, you and your spouse, you can nominate anyone. You are not limited to your immediate family, like your biological children or an officially adopted children. Remember, even your children, they can benefit as long as they're 22 and below. But with us, it doesn't matter. They can be above 22, they can be your elders, or they will still benefit because you nominated them. And then we try by all means that when we take the money from GPF and invest with credible fund organization, we try by all means that you are least taxed, all right? And then, and even you are not punished because you are not taking the money, because you are taking to another fund. So which means an independent and credible fund. So it means that there's no need to tax you more. So those are some of the advantages that are there. So you need to bear that in mind. And then if you want to know more, just drop us a WhatsApp on our WhatsApp number. Then we'll call you back. You don't have to call us. We'll call you back and see how can we expedite it. I thank you.